I am Dustin Baker. I am here with the great Sal Spice. Sal, we're heading into week 3. How is your life going in general?
Life's going pretty good. It's kind of hectic. I'm kind of overwhelmed with just normal life tasks, school, tailgate, blah blah blah. But in general, it's good, and it's hard to not be good when the Vikings are playing the way they are, right? So
Yeah, they're playing unbelievably. We were just talking off air how it's strange that it doesn't feel like a fluke at all. Both of these wins feel legitimate, and that's probably
yeah.
why they're in the top 5 of point differential. But in case we forget throughout the episode, you've got a new show. Tell any new viewers what it's all about, where they can find it.
I do have my new show. It's called Scolders and Spice. It's on Vikings First and Scold Network, and you can find it on their YouTube channel or in any of my links in my various bios. But it is obviously about the Vikings, but I'm describing it as more of a lifestyle podcast. So we're more so talking about the fan experiences and things like that, but also just more story times is kind of the thing. So, like, for example, yesterday I had John Krasinski on and we discussed, what are your favorite Stephon Diggs locker room stories and things like that. So, yeah, we're talking about the game, but not the X's and O's stuff. Like, more of the things that I'm into, the dramatics.
Wonderful. And those episodes, what are they usually? Half hour, hour?
They've been between like 30 and 40 minutes so far. Yeah.
Okay.
And I have changing into like a home studio. So I want to do as many like in-person guests as possible because I think it's just a little more relaxed vibe. So if anyone listening is coming in town for any games this year, let me know so you can come on in.
I'll have to listen to that offer too. I could actually probably make that happen.
Yeah, I know.
Or
If
when
you have to
Yannick
come
Eckhart
early.
from Germany, when he comes here, I don't know if he'd love being on the camera that much. We'll have to coach him into it.
Or we could do a super show.
Yeah, get
You
Thor
both,
Nystrom, who's been on
me.
this show a couple times.
We could maybe have Thor Nystrom.
Yeah,
I mean, the possibilities are endless. I mean, we have common interests that we could discuss. We could maybe even invite our common interests.
boom. All right. So you talked about Stephon Diggs. He's right in your background there. He is one
Yes.
of the crucial architects of the Minneapolis Miracle. Now, for a Sunday, he is the enemy, along with Danielle Hunter, along with
Mhm.
Cam Akers, along with Chris Boyd, if he counts, and then Case Keenum is on IR for the Houston Texans. But before we go full tilt into the Texans, which will be near the end of the show, we got to talk about this win because I haven't talked to you in 2 weeks over the San Francisco 49ers. We waltzed into that game as 4.5-point underdogs. And for a second straight year, the Vikings humbled the 49ers. I believe Kevin O'Connell probably has Kyle Shanahan's number. One of the coolest parts about this start for the Vikings is nothing feels accidental. When 2022 was cooking, it was like, oh boy, we keep getting away with these. And it doesn't feel that way, at least through 2 games. So you were in attendance. You hosted a sweet-ass tailgate. Tell me your takeaways from Vikings 49ers.
It was just such a convincing win on both sides of the ball. And even though towards the end there, it did get a little close, to me, it didn't feel like they were going to lose the game at any point. I mean, obviously they had advantages with clock management since they had burned at least one timeout earlier in the third quarter. And it just felt different. It didn't feel like they might collapse as like teams we've seen in the past. Sam Darnold, the 97-yard pass into double coverage, I think I've probably watched it 400 times, as have you and everyone else, I'm sure. We didn't really know what to think after the Giants. I think we were impressed. We thought, wow, okay, this is a good start, a good base, but I don't think anybody predicted that they were going to walk in there and play that way. And then to hear the comments afterwards from, Brock Purdy and Deebo Samuel, how he said a few days ago that they were trying to call plays, but they didn't know what to do because they didn't understand what was coming at them. To paraphrase, is just, I mean, these are the former NFC champs, the most recent ones. So it's just really, it just blows my mind. I don't think we could have seen this coming at all.
Yeah, I kept thinking, especially right before Aaron Jones's goal line fumble, like
Yeah.
we're one score. There's always got to be some shit like that happens. We were one score away from making this an elementary victory. And while the Vikings have had a lot of success, they have the 7th best record in the NFL since Kevin O'Connell took over. Almost all of the wins, sans the Giants ones, feel like pressure cooked suspense thrillers. That's just the way it goes. And they always felt like one drive away from telling the 49ers, you're not good enough to hang with us. And for anybody that prognosticated a Vikings win over the 49ers, most said, all right, it's going to be a Will Reichard game winner. Welcome to Minnesota. And that just wasn't needed. That was, I'm right there with you, the takeaway about how, especially when you watch other teams last night, the Jets look pretty good. All of these primetime games that most people watch, the Vikings don't feel like they would be outclassed by anybody except the Chiefs. And that feels so different, doesn't it?
It does, and all I can think is this is just the evolution of the coaching. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we went through this roster only a few weeks ago, and we're like, I don't really know. I mean, we're thinking that the secondary is really gonna struggle. And obviously there were some last minute improvements there, but I didn't think that they would be playing this way. I don't think anybody could have. I mean, thank God, Duke Shelley, good riddance to you. But yeah, and I'm with you with the Aaron Jones fumble. That was obviously a bummer and kind of took the wind out of the sails, but thankfully it was on the opposite side of the field, so they had a long ways to go. I don't know if you saw this, but I had a big gripe with them putting Aaron Jones on the cover of the home opener. It's like, okay, it's his first day here. Like maybe you should put Harrison on the cover, or somebody who maybe it might be their last home opener, or who is like the face of the franchise. But
Mm-hmm.
I digress. And that's always kind of a jinx sometimes when they're on the cover, But yeah, what were we? I'm so off track
No,
now.
that's all right. Well, Aaron,
My ADHD meds haven't kicked in yet. It's watching them, such a convincing win, both sides of the ball. Jalen Naylor stepping up and in pass blocking as well as receiving. It just seems like everything's gelling so well. There's not those typical start of the season miscommunications that any team has. It seems like they've already got all that figured out.
and they're forcing turnovers when they're creating them on offense, like the Fred Warner interception, the Jones fumble. Last year, we didn't have that. It was we're
Yeah.
screwed. We got our fumbles. We're done. And they're forcing fumbles in return and interceptions. One of the other things that's sweet, you talked about the cornerbacks kind of improving at the last minute with Stephon Gilmore there. It's really cool that the pass rush kind of makes them anonymous. Like it doesn't seem like we don't have to study like, damn it, Caleb Evans, what are you doing? Because
Right.
the pass rush is so intense, at least through 2 games, that we're like, all right, well, I think Byron Murphy's playing pretty well. There's just a lot of pressure up front that it causes a little more relaxation in the secondary. And then
Yeah.
before I ask, yeah, go ahead.
Was it we haven't heard much from them at all. And I was just reading up on like what's going on with CJ Stroud, not to get ahead of myself, but he's already been sacked at least like 7 times
Okay.
in over 2 weeks. So watch out, buddy. I mean, he can't be excited to be coming in here if his offensive line is already struggling to protect him like that.
Yeah, that's why I think the Vikings will. I don't know if you're going to predict a win, but that's why I think they will win, is because the same way they could fluster Brock Purdy, I believe they will be able to do that to Stroud because he's so new. Now, if this was, some dude who's been around for 16 years, I'd be like, I don't know. If you're playing Rodgers from 2021, I'd be like, nah, he's seen it all. But Stroud's a little bit different story. The other thing is the run game has finally been corrected through 2 games. And that makes it feel like a throwback to prime Dalvin Cook, where you don't have to be one-dimensional and throw the damn ball 68% of the time. So that's a pretty sweet development. All right, Sam Darnold, you love redheads. We all love Sam Darnold now, especially after the 97-yard bomb. It feels like the whisper of the Baker Mayfield reclamation-like story is in full force. But I want to know from you. You led the charge on Josh Dobbs Mania. Is this sustainable with Sam Darnold, and are you a little bit hesitant to jump in because of what happened with Dobbs?
No, not necessarily. I mean, listen, I love Josh Dobbs. It was a fabulous story, but there were so many intriguing things about Josh Dobbs that just made that so much more fun. Like the NASA thing and his story of what was it, 7 teams over like I'm forgetting now, but it was insane. So and then to see how he played when he came in when he had been on the roster for like 3 days.
Yeah.
So that was a kind of a different. It's similar but different. With Sam Darnold, we're seeing somebody who was projected to be so good and so high and then have no success at all, whereas Josh Dobbs was never expected to, to do that much. And yeah, I don't know. I think it's too soon to say, obviously, if it's sustainable, but what we've seen in the first 2 weeks, I think it's hard to argue against it. I think especially with I'm so glad that 97-yard pass was successful, and not just because of what it led to, a touchdown, because I think that's just going to keep giving him that confidence to throw these deep balls. And Justin Jefferson is not only going to be able to catch it, but he's going to be able to make it an accurate throw. So I think it's beating his former team last week. It's just going to continue to build this confidence in him. It's very obvious that everybody in that locker room supports him and that this is his team. And that has to feel really, really good for a guy who has been kind of the laughing stock of the league. As our friend Ron, we got to get Ron on here and see if Ron has an apology segment. We'll have to wait till mid-season for that to see if it continues. But I mean, it's how can you not be happy for the guy? I don't, yeah. So answer your question, I don't really feel hesitant about it at all because he has all of the tools. I think he just didn't have support. People that believed in him knew how to make him succeed. And Kevin O'Connell has proven that he knows how to do that.
The reason that I agree with you, I think it's very obvious that Sam Darnold has immensely more tools than Josh Dobbs had. He's not as fast, but he has the arm, and he's never not had the arm. That's never been the knock on Sam Darnold. But the reason that I think this is sustainable is Kevin O'Connell, the way that he coaches with that turnover stat, they're 19-0 when they win the turnover battle or have it even. I sincerely think the way the defense is playing, how everything is going well, that they only need like Brad Johnson. Like that's the type of quarterback at a very that's what they need, like the 2002 Bucks when they won their Super Bowl. I don't think Darnold has to be an absolute Pro Bowler for this team to get to 10-7 or something like that. He just can't start the turnover parade like Nick Mullins did in December and January. So even if Darnold has games where he's got 180 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, I think those are forgivable because of the way everything else is going. So I hopefully those aren't around the bin. Hopefully he just keeps up this pace. But the more that I look at this team, and I wasn't saying this during the summer because I didn't think they'd execute this well. I think they just need Brad Johnson, that type.
Well, and to execute this early well too.
Mm-hmm.
You could see if, after 4 games or so, okay, we worked out some kinks, everything's getting better. But I mean, look at how good the offensive line has been playing, better than we've seen in how many years? I mean, especially with the run protection.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, how can you not believe in Sam Darnold at this point?
You know what? So you know my wife, Natasha, we were coming home from the game, and I think I said this on the show the other day. I was thinking about the game and what I was going to write about when I got home, and I told her, I was like, it's so crazy that Darnold isn't like some big downgrade from Kirk Cousins. And she looked at me and she goes, downgrade? She's like, he's an upgrade. Are you kidding me? And so, she watches the games, but she doesn't, go full tilt on it all week like we do. And it struck a chord with me because from somebody who knows football, but doesn't get obsessed with it, Darnold is an upgrade to Cousins. Can you see that through 2 games?
I can see it. Well, so it depends, right? I think there's kind of 2 versions of Kirk, and I forgot about this. I hadn't considered this in a long time until John Krasinski was on yesterday. And he was telling of, there was kind of a different Kirk Cousins when we first got him than after. It seems like you got the shift in him after Diggs left and Jefferson came in, where he then did take more command of the locker room, and he did seem not as much in his head anymore. And it seemed like he was willing to maybe take a few more risks. However, I mean, I don't know if I can say upgrade. That might be strong, but for right now, I have more confidence in what Sam Darnold can do than what I had in what Kirk Cousins could do, because I think we had plenty of history to go off of to know what his limitations were, where I feel like Sam Darnold is reborn. We don't know what his ceiling is. He's talked about how he has learned a lot and, adjusted these mechanics before and mistakes that he used to make from, Shanahan and O'Connell. And I don't know. So I think with him, the ceiling is higher for sure.
Yeah, well, it certainly is. I mean, unless every draft scout in the world just doesn't know anything, there's no doubt that Darnold's upside was higher than Kirk's in respective drafts about 6 years apart. And the one way that it does feel like a noticeable upgrade, and we got to see a lot more sample before we can call that wholesale, is third downs. Sam Darnold, at least out of the gate, seems more proficient, and then we don't have those damn 3-and-out spells that Kirk, when things would go bad, get the ball back on offense, you could feel it in your bones. Oh, here comes a 3-and-out, and then it would happen.
Did they have one of those on Sunday?
I think they had a 3-and-out, but I can tell you when it felt like prime time for one is when he connected with Jalen Naylor on that third down. That was the drive where past iterations of Kevin O'Connell teams, it was like, here comes a 3-and-out, and we're going to have to go win the thing by maybe a field goal. And that didn't happen. And so tip of the cap to Darnold there. All right, a couple more things for you. Where are you at on the optimism meter? We've talked pretty optimistically in the last 15 minutes about the Vikings. I took a little heat in the YouTube comments the other day. I revised my prognostication to say, hell yeah, they can get to 10-7. They're playing that damn well. Somebody in the comments said, well, 2 weeks ago, you said 7-10. I was like, well, yeah, but I just watched 2 games and this team executes like a beast.
Right.
So where is your optimism meter? Do you think they can nibble at the wild card? If the Lions lose to the Cardinals this week, they could be 2 games back of the Vikings. Where are you at for the grand scope of the team?
I'm getting the same thing. And honestly, it's so annoying because, first of all, I don't think either one of us are those type of people that are not going to admit that we're wrong. We're not going to go back and delete all of our tweets.
I like to admit that I'm wrong.
Yes. If I am wrong about this team, there is nothing that makes me happier. I would love to shout it from the rooftop, and I will. Absolutely. I was wrong about this. I doubted this. I doubted that. I want to be surprised. But it's so funny how people are already coming out. Like somebody sent me, oh, remember like a recording. And it's like, okay, first of all, pump the brakes first of all. But yeah, I'm with you. That's it's frustrating because I bet if you asked those people 2 weeks ago, if they thought there was going to be a convincing win yesterday, I bet they had it in the loss column as well. But so the optimism meter, and again, it is crazy the shift in opinion that we've had, I think, this offseason combined with these first 2 weeks. It's been all over the place, but I can't remember ever a bigger shift in my opinion of a team in 2 weeks than this one. I have so much optimism. I mean, they are still, without Hawkinson, without Addison, and the 49ers were down key players too the other day. So it's not to use that as an excuse, but I only can see them getting better as long as they stay healthy, as long as they keep playing the way that they are. 10 wins, I can see that now. Because the 49ers in my mind was a no-brainer. No. I remember I was like, I don't know if they'll get a home win until November. And now we're seeing it, especially with, Green Bay looks more winnable now. I know that I haven't been that impressed with the Jets. It's still London. Anything can happen, but I can see that defense all over Aaron Rodgers over there. So games I'm looking at things a lot differently, and that has a lot to do with the defense, I think.
Yeah.
Because if the defense wasn't playing the way that they are, realistically, Sam wouldn't be playing the way that he is. It goes hand in hand.
And thanks to this 2-0 start, remember back in May when the schedule came out, we kind of identified the Colts game as when things start to get easier after this murderer's row. Well, thanks to the 2-0 start, they could have a winning record. They could be certifiably 500. So we're getting the wins in the tough portion of the schedule. And if they get one this weekend, man, everybody's going to be really excited. The other thing that I think can be attributed to the 2-0 start and why we feel the way we do is Kevin O'Connell might be entering like a Tomlinsonian or Harbonian realm of coaching. That he doesn't have a Super Bowl, of course, but that trustworthy, that the way that you feel like, okay, O'Connell can do, how when you see that you're playing the 49ers, Shanahan's going to bring it. I think O'Connell might be there by this time next year, where league wide, where that guy is a top 5 coach. His attitude, his culture, his play calling. I think we're at the very beginning of realizing that. It seems like NFL media has started to be like, yeah, O'Connell can coach some ball. And we didn't say that necessarily last January. Now it's becoming a fact. Do you agree?
Oh, absolutely. And I don't think that's just our opinion because we're homers. I'm hearing that in the national media saying that. And that they love to diss us anytime, any opportunity that they get. So I see a lot of different people saying that his play calling is the best in the league right now. He's out coached, Shanahan now, twice? And yeah, I think we have something really special here combined with the coaching staff, with offense and defense. And I hope Brian Flores doesn't ever get offered a head coaching job ever again.
When we started last offseason in January or so, and we were kind of wondering if Flores would come back, one of my sources told me that he is one of, if not the highest paid defensive coordinator in football. And every now and then in the NFL, there are coaches who just prefer that. Like, I don't
Yeah.
maybe he doesn't want the bullshit again of what happened in Miami. He didn't get any nibbles this cycle, and that's probably blowback from the bullshit in Miami. But I'm there with you. I'm selfish that I want him to stay, and if he is compensated like a head coach, but as a defensive coordinator, who's to say he won't be like the Chiefs guy? Is it Spagnuolo? Like
Yeah.
Spagnola? Like, yeah, he's
Yeah.
just the defensive coordinator. Like,
Right.
and that's his job.
Yeah.
Maybe Flores could do that.
I never remember hearing that he really like loved being a head coach. I think he liked the opportunity. It soured. And now, I mean, he knows he's dealing with much less BS. It's kind of like a Mike Zimmer. Like Mike Zimmer, I think, figured out pretty quick that he didn't love being a head coach, as he was completely hands-off offense all the time. And if there was an offensive issue, I don't know. I don't know. That's not my department. But I think his ego makes him want to be a head coach again, according to his article. But we know based on his actions, he really just wanted to be a defensive coordinator, you know? So I think it's kind of similar without the attitude problems that Mike Zimmer has.
Remember the time in 2021 on the show with Bryant McKinney, we had Darisaw on, and we were asking him about Zimmer, and he said he hadn't talked to Coach Zimmerman.
Yeah.
And you messaged me during the show, and you were like, "Oh my God, does Zimmer really not talk to the offense at all? This guy is a first-round pick."
He didn't know his name. How far into the season was that too?
Oh, let's see.
That was really early, but
Yeah, I think that might
for sure. But
that might have even been before we even knew that he was a total stud. I think that might have been
yeah,
like the summer of, but still,
yeah.
you're the first round pick. You should.
We'd have to go look that
Yeah, that
up.
was
But
funny.
yeah, it was crazy. I forgot all about that.
All right, what do you expect? I am weirdly optimistic. I don't want to be wrong again and pick against the Vikings. So I believe the Vikings will win 27-24. I can feel, to keep this vibe unblemished, I feel a Will Reichard game winner coming on 27-24. And then we'll have our kicker of the future. We got our franchise quarterback chilling on an IR. Tell me your general thoughts on Vikings Texans and round out with a prediction.
Man, that kicker has some swagger, huh? I mean, what a
The
guy.
Walmart swagger. Yeah.
What a guy. I mean, with the Walmart, I was like, okay, King, get your money. And then now it just keeps going. You learn more and more about this guy. And it's like, yeah, I love him, at least so far. Well, there are so many storylines going into this game against the Texans that I almost wish that I was watching it on TV instead. And the reason is because I want to be able to see all these things going down at once. I want to be able to see, is Stephon Diggs, how dramatic he's being and all of that. And I want to be able to watch Hunter, and does he seem emotional? I want to be able to focus on Justin Jefferson and his former teammate, and being, in coverage. How's that going? So there's so many things to look at that I'm almost like, oh, I wish I could watch it at home. But I'll watch it later. I think I don't want to do a cop out. I think if I have to decide, I would say the Vikings are going to win, but I think it's going to be very close. As you said, back and forth. It will be interesting to see how those emotions may or may not play into the results of the game. But I do the reason I'm giving the Vikings the edge is the defense, and how I think that they'll be able to get CJ off kilter. And who knows, that might send Stephon into a meltdown if he's not having a successful game. Let me point out, by the way, so I just, as I was saying, I'm transitioning this bedroom here into a studio. And so I haven't been able to put my shelves up or like decided permanently where I'm going to have this at. So I just needed something in the background. So I grabbed my like framed, autographed Minneapolis Miracle picture here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this fell off the wall a couple days ago. And as you can see here, it's broken. So I don't know if that is any sign, omen of things to come. But
which way would it be?
Which what?
If it's an omen, would it be pro Vikings or anti Vikings?
I think it would be anti Diggs, don't you think?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Not even like
that's the way we're gonna spin it anyhow.
Yeah, I don't know. And I mean, maybe we don't have time to get into this conversation, but the whole booing, not booing conversation is really driving me up a wall. So I could talk about that till.
Yeah, I don't think that they will do that. Or I know I
Some
will.
of them will.
Well, yeah. You think they'll boo Kirk in December?
Well, here's the thing. The ones that will boo Diggs on Sunday will not boo Cousins.
Okay.
I've found that the overlap is you hate Diggs, not a team player, diva, F him. And then with Kirk, it's you guys, let's just move on. Let's wish him the best. Let's root for him. And those don't cross. It's two different. They're one and the same.
What I don't get about the pro or the crowd or the people that would boo Diggs is he just didn't want to be part of a run first offense, and we very vocally had a run first offense.
Mm-hmm.
And like the end result is we got Justin Jefferson for the deal. So who
Right.
gives a shit?
I don't get it at all. I think, first of all, it's pretty typical that we see these kinds of personalities in the wide receiver position.
Yeah.
And I think with any person in that position, their legacy is their stats. And if you're somewhere where you're not going to be able to really get your maximum potential out of that, I can see not wanting to go on. Aside from that, though, where is this narrative about Randy Moss in this fan base? Was he not a similar personality? If we had social media back then, he would be deleting his posts and having vague tweets and all of that? He would. We asked him about it when he was on the show. I asked him about how he thought his public perception would be different if social media was out there. But regardless of everything they want to dismiss from Randy Moss, he did come out and say, I play when I want to play, which is very similar if you consider it. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of hypocrisy with that. He gave you one of the best memories that you have right here that you're going to watch until the end of time, not just Vikings fans, but the NFL fans in general. And you got Justin Jefferson at the end of the day. So you won the trade, or you won the situation. So you kind of even got the last laugh. So what are you upset about?
Yeah, I even habitually cheered for the Bills when they would lose their annual AFC divisional playoff game because I wanted them to break through because of Diggs. And so it's the same thing. And then when Kirk comes this in December, I'm not going to boo the shit out of him. You probably want to boo him more than you would Diggs. He's the one that chased the bag.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And you didn't get anything for it.
Yeah.
So I don't get it. I mean, Kirk's coming out saying one thing and then he does another. So who's the team player here?
Yeah.
I mean, kind of neither one. If you want to.
Well, if the Vikings just beat them both, that'll be justice.
Oh my gosh, won't it? But he went and I hate how he stepped up and won that game for them the other day because he never did that for us.
Oh, yes, he did. You were just too jaded to see it.
Against the Eagles in prime time?
Oh, no.
He didn't.
No, not against the Eagles. It was probably just mathematically due to have a moment in Philadelphia after 3 primetime games in a row.
And I'm not being a hater right there. That was jealousy for one.
Okay.
And I would never boo him.
No, I wanted
anyone else. Except
I was about 50-50 on whether or not it was going to happen because I didn't think the Eagles would just completely fall back and just say, yeah, go ahead and go downfield and we'll see what happens at the goal line. But then you could start to see those first passes that he was cooking. And outside of the primetime window, we saw that quite a few times from Kirk when we needed it. Most of the times, though, it would end up in a game-winning field goal rather than a game-winning touchdown for Kirk. So.
And the Eagles, they always laid an egg.
Yeah.
Week 2, was that 2 years ago against the Eagles in primetime?
Yeah. That was the game that Irv Smith dropped the touchdown in the second quarter. Remember that one?
I didn't know he was still on the team 2 years ago. I heard his name at training camp, and I was like, is he still in the league?
Yeah, he's on the Texans now. Texans practice squad.
Oh, well, I'm sorry to disrespect him that he's come returning to town. He didn't get his shout out.
Well, he just signed, so it's Brevin. Oh, is it Brevin Jordan? I think their TE2, TE3 tore his ACL, and so they called up Irv for the practice squad. I don't think he'll play. But yeah, Irv has not caught on elsewhere, and that was one that we really got wrong. All right, Sally, we got to wrap it up. I got the Vikings by 3. You got the Vikings by 3?
Not to copy you, but yeah, I think that sounds pretty good.
Yeah, we're going with the Reichert game winner because the vibes will be off the charts if that happens. All right, we'll talk to you in 1 week, Sally, when we get ready for Packer Week, okay?
Oh, my God, I can't wait.
All right, later.
All right, bye.
See you.